Hi there, it's Artem here. I'm a software engineer at Crown Platform. In the last video, I showed you how to generate new non-fungible token protocols and tokens itself. Today, I'm going to show you how to read information basically about those tokens and protocols. I'm going to show you what kind of APIs we have, how you can customize parameters to read exact protocol or exact token or exact array of tokens. So to briefly remind you about protocols and tokens, so the NFT protocol basically is a set of rules which you need to register first before you start tokens generation. And the tokens that belong to a specific protocol must comply those rules. I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to use Crown Wallet again to show you how you can get information, how you can query the NFT registries. So I have a local sandbox testnet environment here, and I pre-generated some NFT protocols and tokens. If you watched the video about protocols generation, there are the same protocols, and I also generated a bunch of tokens, so it's easier to show how to get information about them. So I will start from the help of NFT Proto APIs and NFToken APIs. So basically, in the last video, we were looking at the register API, and today we're gonna look at all of this. So all of them are created to get information, specific information about each token or about a list of tokens. So we'll start from the list. So you can also call help of each of them. I'm gonna do it right now. So the list generates you an array of existing protocols, and you have some parameters you can specify if you want to get the some specific subset of existing protocols. So if you're just gonna type NFT proto list or make a call from your software, it will return your full list of existing protocols with information about them. So if you want to provide some constraints, so you can restrict the maximum height. So for example, we have 3 protocols registered here at height 749, 771, and 781. So if you're gonna ask to give you the list of protocols that register up to the block number 780, it will just give you 2 of them, and you can do the same for like 770. It will just show you this one. So the other parameters you have is you can restrict the maximum count you want to get, and how many items you want to skip from the tip of the current blockchain. So this is a paging mechanism for you to read the information by chunks. For example, if you will type NFT proto list, for example, you can provide the current height. For that, you can ask what is the height right now, because this parameter you need to provide before others. NFT proto list 874. So you want to get, for example, only count of 2 of them, and you don't want to skip anything, so you will just get the last 2 elements. Okay. So for example, if you have I don't know, 20 protocols registered, you can provide 10. You can ask for a count of 10, and it will read the last 10 elements. And on the next read, you can ask to skip the recent 10, and you will get the first 10. I hope it makes sense. So in this example, you read the last 2 elements, or you can also ask to read like 10 of them, skipping 0. It will give you 3. And if you want to skip 1 element, it will just return you 2 of them. So it skips the last element and gives you the first 2. Okay, so if you would have 20, as I mentioned, you would read the last 10 and then skip the last 10 and get the previous 10. I think it will be easier to understand on the example with NFTokens, because there are much more of them generated already. And also there is another parameter where you can only receive the registration transaction IDs instead of the full information about each NFT product. So you can ask for them like this. Okay. By default, these parameters count and skip from tip are 20 and 0, which means you will receive 20 elements maximum, and you don't need to skip anything. Okay, so the other parameters you have will just return you 1 element. The get returns you information about 1 protocol, and you're going to provide a protocol ID for that. So if you'll ask NFT product get EVD, for example, it will give you the information about exact protocol. And the same with GFT, for example, or Kryptonites. So this is the help for it, the pretty simple comment. You can also request information by transaction ID. It's called get by TXID. So instead of the protocol ID, you have to provide the transaction hash. Okay, so you will do it like this: get by transaction ID, and for example, this one. So, and the last comment we have is called owner of. So in this way, you can find out who is the owner of the exact protocol. Oh, it's not that one. So you're gonna have to provide the protocol ID, and it will give you the address of this protocol. Basically, it's pretty much the same as if you're gonna call get, but instead of receiving the full list of parameters, you're just gonna receive an address. Okay, so that's it with the NFT protocols. So now we're gonna do the same for tokens, for NFT tokens. The list of APIs a bit bigger here, but the principle is pretty much the same. So if you're gonna ask for the list of NFT tokens, it will give you the full list of existing non-fungible tokens. And as with the NFT products, it also has different parameters. And of course, it also has the paging mechanism where you can provide count and skip from tip. They are 20 and 0 by default. So if there are going to be thousands of non-fungible tokens in the blockchain, you will be able to filter them using these parameters and read by chunks using these parameters. For example, in order to start reading, you can use the command total supply, which provides you a full count of all existing NFT tokens or tokens belonging to a specific protocol. So in your code, you're gonna call NFT token total supply, and we have 17 in the current blockchain. This is the full amount of all tokens generated and written on the blockchain. And you can also get information about each protocol. Total supply EVD for gift shop stands for GFT3, and the Kryptonites protocol has 10 tokens generated. Okay, so returning back to the list API, you can provide the token protocol ID. That's how you can filter only the tokens belonging to a protocol you're interested in. And you also can provide the address of the owner of a specific token. If you do not care about filtering by one of these parameters, you can provide the symbol here or here. And after this, you can provide other parameters, for example. So if you want to list all existing gift shop tokens, you're going to have to code like this. Okay, so you're going to receive a list of all tokens that belong to this protocol. And you can do the same for any other. So you receive the full list of all tokens that belong to each of these protocols. Okay. If you want to filter by an address, you can do it like this. If token list, you don't care about the protocol ID, for example, and just provide the owner address. So all of these tokens belong to the same address. I was just generating those tokens with the same parameters to have some amount of tokens. And if you're gonna, you still can provide the protocol ID. Okay, so it gives you flexibility of how you want to query information about existing tokens. And if you're gonna ask for all gift shop tokens that belong to that address, you're gonna an empty list. Okay, so and the filter mechanism is pretty much the same. So you can specify the maximum height you're interested in, and maximum amount of tokens you want to receive and how many you want to skip. For example, if I want to receive all the tokens, I want to read all existing tokens using paging. So we'll ask for example, each time I will read just 5 of them, and then go backwards from the height of the blockchain. So I'm gonna call NFToken list. I don't care about what kind of address they have or protocol ID. The height will be the current one. $959. The maximum count 5, skip 0, and so we have the last 5 tokens that were generated on the blockchain. And you can see there's height here 789, 79, 780, and this is the first chunk I read. And if I implement my software, I can keep looping and just, for example, incrementing the skipping by 5. Okay, so now I want to skip this 5 because I have read them already. And they're going to be next 5, 780 EVD, 778, 763, and now I want to skip 10. Another chunk of them. Now I want to skip 15. And as far as we remember, we have 17 tokens at all in general. So it will give us the last 2, basically the first 2, if we look from the beginning of the blockchain. Okay, so there are examples here available that you can use. And the last argument is also registration transaction only. So if you want to read an array of only transactions IDs in which NFTs were registered, you can do it like this. For example, and you have an array of transaction IDs. Okay, I think these are the most well, complex APIs, but for engineer, it's a general task to implement paging in your software. So, and this API provides a way to do this. So we also have get and get by transaction ID APIs. They also have the same approach as with protocols, but the difference is that you have to provide the protocol ID and token ID to uniquely identify it. So, for example, I can ask for AVD. What AVD token we have here, like this, for example. It will give us the exact token and all the information about it. And you also can do the same transaction ID. Okay, another token we have. We already looked at the total supply. So we also have balance of and owner of comments. Owner of is the same. If you're gonna call help NFToken owner of, it gives you information about how you can call it. So you also have to provide the protocol ID and token ID, basically like with the get. But the difference is that it will only return you the address of this NFT. And the balance of oops. The balance of will return you the number of all the tokens that belong to a specific address, and you can also filter it by protocol ID as well. And you can see examples here. So if I want to find out the balance of this address, for example, it gives me 10. These tokens belong to this protocol ID, so I can also provide it, and it's going to give me the same result because this address doesn't own any other tokens. And for example, for EVD, it's 0. The names of these APIs, they have these names because we wanted to keep using the same terminology non-fungible tokens already have in some other platforms. Like, for example, Ethereum has the same APIs in their ERC 721 standard. So for engineers who already know how non-fungible tokens work on Ethereum, it's going to be easier to understand what those API will return. Okay, so I guess this is it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and feel free to start using non-fungible tokens. Good luck. Thanks for watching.